407 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand, filling in for Matt Murphy all week long because Matt got his shoulder removed and replaced with something from China. So he should be back next week. We wish him a speedy recovery in his absence. I'm really excited for our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, it's FriJay.
Good morning, Americans. It's FriJay.
Yes, joining us now live via Zoom link. The one, the only, Jay St. Clair. How are you, sir?
Hey, Chris, if I was any better, I'd be my dog.
Would you?
Yeah, my dog has the best life of any creature I know. She's sitting here right here beside me, so she starts barking. Just gotta go with it.
All right, sounds good. Let's pick things up on your instant reaction from all the flurry of activity we saw around the Supreme Court today. What's your instant reaction? Where do you think this goes, and how pissed are the Democrats?
Well, they're upset. Matt and I, when we've been talking about this, Chris, I have been analogizing it to a football game. And I would say this puts us into the third, because there's a lot going. No, I'm on radio. Be quiet. This carries us into about the third quarter. The game's not over with yet.
Okay.
But I would say we're in the third quarter, the middle of the third quarter. And right now, I would say, particularly in light of this universal injunction decision, I would say Trump is up 28-14 right now, if you can consider all of it. Because there's a lot going on. A lot is about immigration. A lot is about tariffs. A lot is about government reduction. And then you get these things like birthright citizenship and others. So there's a lot of issues at play. But I'd say right now he's ahead by a couple of touchdowns, Chris.
What's the ripple effect? Now the Democrats know they can't have one activist judge filing a nationwide injunction, but they could pivot to class action lawsuits.
Class actions, that's right.
What does that look like?
What that really looks like in the real world, Chris, it slows things down in somewhere from 30 to 60 days. The way it works right now is, let's say Trump does the birthright citizenship executive order. A lawsuit gets filed within 3 days. And then within 2 days of that, the judge can issue a temporary restraining order that was applicable nationwide. So they could do it in 5 days and just grind it to a halt. So the difference is that's not going to happen anymore. But they could get to the same effect, a nationwide injunction, but it's going to take at least 30 days and maybe 60 days. Yeah. And so, but it means that it still can happen, but it happens slower. And then, but then, of course, they can do these expedited appeals.
And what does an expedited appeal look like?
Well, a week. If a judge issues a nationwide class action, enjoins something like birthright citizenship through a nationwide class action, they could file an expedited appeal. And if the appellate court takes it, they don't have to, but if they take it, they can get that stopped in about a week. So what it prevents is just one judge in Seattle or Spokane or Philadelphia or whatever from shutting the whole thing down nationwide. That's gone.
Love it. Huge fan. So what happens next with birthright citizenship? Because it wasn't technically a ruling on birthright citizenship.
That's right.
So now they're going to have to file a new suit or a new executive order. How does that work? Explain that to me.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how that works. There were two tracks that were going on, Chris. The one they were wanted to get after this universal injunction thing. The Trump people did, and that was a case in which a universal injunction was issued. And there were a couple of other ones. And so the appeal that was decided today was just about the universal injunction issue. It just happened to be in the birthright citizenship case, but the Supreme Court made no decision about that. That's being decided in a separate case. And that case has already found its way to the Supreme Court. They haven't taken argument on it yet. Well, actually, they may have taken a whole argument, but I don't think we're going to likely the court will probably recess now. I haven't even looked to see if they did. Technically, they're in session all summer, but that's a separate case. It's already pending in front of the Supreme Court, and that will get the earliest we'll get a decision in that case is in October.
Okay.
So but the difference is now that in the meantime they can continue to do business. The way they did it was really interesting, Chris. They forced this issue. They picked this fight, and they just said, "We hereby declare, unless you're in these categories of people, you are no longer a United States citizen." They're picking the fight. So what does that mean in the real world? That, well, let's say a child's born that doesn't fit in those categories, then the government is not going to treat them as a United States citizen. What does that mean in the real world, Chris? I hadn't thought that through completely, but for a newborn, it probably doesn't really change much. What it does change is for lots of people
The dreamers
who are going around right now who believe they are U.S. citizens, they no longer are, which means they need visas to be here.
Do you think that the Supreme Court is going to side with Trump on this? I mean, he's been very clear in his arguments publicly, that it was intended for the children of slaves, that we didn't see citizenship granted to Indian tribes at that point.
Right.
The original language when they were arguing it. Do you think that the Supreme Court sides with Trump on this one? My biggest fear was always Amy Coney Barrett, but after seeing her come down like a sack of potatoes on Ketanji Brown Jackson today, I don't know if that's as big of a fear as I once had.
Yeah. I am terrible at predicting what the Supreme Court will do, Chris. But my crystal ball tells me that that Trump's going to lose that case. Here's what that case turns on. It's language in the Constitution. I think it's the 14th Amendment, and there's no question it was passed right after the Civil War. No question that it was applicable to freed slaves. There's no doubt about it. But the court is bound to interpret the Constitution as it is written. And I think the phrase, I don't have it in front of me, but I think I have it memorized correctly. All persons born in the United States are citizens. Let's say if it said all persons are born in the United States are citizens thereof, there wouldn't be a case. Right? No question. There wouldn't be a case. That's clear. That language is clear. But that's not what it says, Chris. And a lot of the mainstream media won't tell you. They just stop right there. But what it says is this: all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Well, Chris, that phrase means something.
Amen.
Subject, it means something. If it didn't mean anything, it wouldn't be there.
Right.
And so that's what the case turns on that. And the Supreme Court will have to interpret that. And what the Trump people are saying is, well, what we believe this means is that I think the way they're doing it is that at least one of the parents must be a United States citizen. And because otherwise they are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. But neither are the parents. And if the parents aren't subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, then their children aren't.
Right.
The example that everybody agrees with, which is interesting, everybody agrees that phrase means something, Chris. And the clearest case that everybody agrees on, let's say that the diplomat, the ambassador from Russia, who's living in New York City, and his wife has a baby in New York City. Well, that baby is not a citizen of the United States because neither the Russian ambassador nor the wife claim to be citizens of the United States. They don't claim it. They'd never claim it. And so as everybody says, yeah, okay, even there's an example of somebody born in the United States who is not a citizen. Now, I don't think anybody would doubt that.
Right.
So there are some people born in the United States that aren't citizens. And the question is exactly how does that work with immigrants who are here illegally? I don't know. My gut instinct tells me that Trump's going to lose that case.
Well, I hope you're wrong, and I'll lean on the fact that you said you're terrible about predicting these things for the time being.
Well, I am.
We're talking with Jay St. Clair, friend of the Matt Murphy Show, legal expert. You can get your questions in if you want to get any questions to Jay on any legal matters you're dealing with. 615-737-9986. You can text them in, and we'll get the ball rolling. Jay will answer your questions. What did you make of Amy Coney Barrett slapping down Ketanji Brown Jackson in that opinion?
There is a lot going on there, Chris. There's a lot because the Supreme Court has very high decorum.
Yep.
And, through history, there have been justices that have had extreme disagreements with each other, extreme disagreements. But they were always very cordial to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Justice Scalia, probably one of the most conservative justices really ever on the Supreme Court, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of the most liberal justices on the Supreme Court probably ever. Mm-hmm. They were very dear friends. They went to the theater a lot, Chris. They socialized with each other a lot. So it is clear that they were very good friends on a personal level. And they would never say anything that harsh about each other. So I just think this is more than a disagreement about the law. There's something more to that, something more to Justice Jackson's interpersonal interactions with Justice Barrett or the other justices. This is not just a disagreement about the law, Chris.
Yeah,
the Supreme Court just doesn't do that. They don't act like that.
It seems personal, especially when you have six justices signing on to that opinion that is smacking her down, saying that she doesn't know the Constitution, she doesn't read legalese. I mean, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal.
No, that's a very good word, though. It's personal. And I have never seen Supreme Court justices be either in formal opinions or even in their commentary. They're just on a talk show or giving a speech or something. They never say anything bad about each other.
No.
So it's odd.
All right. Hey, I got one of our first legal questions rolling in for you. Okay.
Okay.
So if we know that Ketanji Brown Jackson was appointed by a man who wasn't all there, didn't have the mental capacity to be there, is there any recourse to get her off of the Supreme Court? Can you impeach her? Can she be recalled for incompetence?
Well, she can't be recalled. The only way to remove a federal judge, even a federal district court judge, is through impeachment. Which requires, I think, a 2/3 vote of the Senate, and that's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
No, it's never going to happen on either part. I mean, they would have to commit murder, and then it wouldn't get to that point. If they knew that they were going to get convicted on impeachment, they'd resign. So it's just never going to happen that a sitting Supreme Court justice is going to get removed by impeachment. But that's the only way.
That's a bit of a bummer. Bit of a bummer.
Yep.
But hey, we got more legal questions rolling in. If you want to get your questions in for Jay St. Clair, Jay, you're good to hang out for a little bit, right, man?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Chris,
right,
you
cool.
got me for so long. Like I told you, I'm giving you a 25% discount.
I love it. I love it. Don't tell Matt that I'm getting Jay at a discount. All right, so Jay's going to stick around with us. Legal questions, if you want to ask Jay anything, 615-737-9986. I'm seeing them start to roll in, so anything you want to ask Jay, send it to the text line. We'll get it to Jay after the break, which starts right now, 421 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Nobody's stressing about America's hat, Ken Weaver. They're just not. The markets ain't stressed.
No.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand in for Matt Murphy, joined down the line by our friend Jay St. Clair, who's offering free legal advice to you right now, 615-737-9986. You can text in your question or you can call. What's going on, Jay? You doing well, man?
Man, it's a little bit hot down here, Chris, but, other than that, it's okay.
Good to know. Hey, all right, first question for you.
All right.
I was recently charged with a crime, but it was expunged within a month. But I'm paranoid after hearing that the expungement process is not a perfect process. How worried should I be about the possibility of failing a background check in the future?
I'd have to know a lot more about that, Chris. That's odd to me that it was expunged after just 1 month. I would be interested in knowing who told you that it was expunged. I'd be interested in knowing if you have a document showing that it's been expunged. Sir, I'll tell you what you can do, and this may just give you the peace of mind. You can actually do a background check on yourself.
That's a good
You can
idea.
go online, and there's companies that do that, where you can run background checks on other people. They're not 100% reliable, but they're pretty good. I wouldn't worry about it. But if you are worried about it and you want some peace of mind, just pay the $40 or whatever it is, and go online, and you'll find it's easy to find. Just do a criminal search on yourself.
That's
The other
smooth.
thing you can do is, if you know what court it was in. Let's say it's in Davidson County. If you know the court, you can go down to the court and check the docket for your case and see what it says. That's the way to look at the actual government documents. It's a little bit harder, and those documents aren't all open to the public. But first thing I do is probably just get online, pay the $40, and do a criminal background search on yourself.
I think that's
And then,
smooth. That's good advice. We got Jay
yeah, that's
St.
what I
Clair.
did.
We got Jay St. Clair down the line giving us free legal advice. Got another question for you. This one's from 3069. He says, I have a 2022 truck I inherited from my dad, registered it in Tennessee. My stepsister would not release it to me in Texas. The cops were called. They said this would need to be handled by a judge, and I could not take my truck home. Any advice?
Well, again, I'm not sure I got enough facts, Chris. He says that he inherited it from his father. I don't really know what that means. The question, sir, I'm guessing it's the man that wrote the question. Trucks have titles to them. So when your father owned the truck, he had a title to the truck, and the title was in his name. And the only way for you to get actual possession of that is for that title to switch over to you. So when you're saying that you inherited it, but that your sisters or somebody, some relative is complaining about that, I doubt that title actually moved from your father to you. And to get that done, you may have to go through probate. God, I hate to hear about that though. Maybe what you can do, I wish we could talk and I could find out more facts, but maybe you can just trying to kind of work a deal out. Was it a sister or sister-in-law?
Stepsister, he said.
Stepsister, yeah. Maybe, try to work something out with her.
He says the title is in his name. He just texted again. The title is in his name.
Well, if the title's in his name, he owns the truck. I don't know. The stepsister can't prevent that. Well, if he's texting with you, ask him what's the problem?
Yeah, what is the problem?
What's the problem?
I'll send that back. What's the problem? We'll pick this one up on the other side. Plus, we got Richie and Samantha hanging on the phone lines, waiting to ask you a question as well. We'll get to those calls. And any other advice you need from Jay St. Clair, 615-737-9986. Appreciate you, Jay. 430, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 438 on the Matt Murphy Show. My name is Chris Hand. I'm filling in for Matt all week. He got his shoulder removed and replaced with one that he got off of Temu, and we're wishing him a speedy recovery. He should be back next week. In the meantime, I'm very excited. We got a great guest down the line, Jay St. Clair. Ladies and gentlemen, it's FriJay. What's up, Jay? How you doing, man?
Hey, buddy. Good.
I got a lot of questions rolling in for you. For starters, how's your golf game?
Well, golf's a hard way to get
I feel
pleasure,
like that was
Chris.
all the answer we needed.
This is, golf's a hard way to get pleasure. I'm still a little better. Well, age is not a friend when it comes to golf, but I enjoy it. I'll say this about it. I have a great group of men that I play golf with, Chris, and so the social part of it is what makes it fun.
Amen. All right.
Do you play golf?
No, I was raised in Boston, and it was always too cold, and I never got into it. All right, I got a real question for you. Josh writes in. He said, a couple months ago, I asked Jay about the legalities of a future employer buying an employee out of a non-compete. This has since happened. However, some of the clients that I used to work with at the former employer will be coming with me to the new employer. NDAs were signed during my employment with the old employer, and we're beholden to the clients that are now coming with me to the new employer. Can the client release me from the NDA, or does the former employer have to do so and or as well? Thanks, Josh.
When you say NDA, Josh, I assume that's a non-disclosure agreement. I'm not really sure how that comes into a non-compete. But I want to answer your question because I know that we used to talk a lot about this. It is the law that was going to make non-competes unenforceable did not change, so that there still can be enforceable, and it's really a matter that's up to your former employment. Now, you say your new employer bought you out of your
Yeah,
non-compete.
that's how he
And
laid it
if
out.
that's so that what that's telling me is that your new company paid the old company some money and it if that happened, I would think there would have been a list of companies that they said, okay, well, you can have these clients. So, but I'm sorry, Josh, I'm just not fully understanding your question about. I don't understand how non-disclosure agreements work into this.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well,
maybe if you can text in and be a little bit, if you can be a little bit more clear about that, because I want to answer your question.
perfect. All right. We got Samantha on the line. Samantha, you got a question for Jay? Hit it. Hey, Samantha.
Hello?
Hey, what's your question for Jay?
Hello?
Hello. Hey, what's up, Samantha?
Hi. Okay, good. Mine's also about a non-disclosure agreement.
Perfect. Lay it on
Okay.
us.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go for it.
Loud and clear.
Perfect. Okay, so I have two companies. We're going to go with Company A and Company B. Company A
Okay.
is the one that my son has been employed with for the past 4 years. He quit about 4 months ago, and immediately Company B contacted him saying that they were interested.
Right.
Company A had him. He's only 27, and that plays a factor because I think youth here is part of the problem, perceived youth. But anyway, he's very good at what he does. And so anyway, he signed that, and it expires, the NDA, in November. Well, Company B lawyer says he's a do not hire because we can't count on that he won't be and cause us to have all kinds of lawsuits and whatever because of this.
Yeah.
If he goes, this new company, Company B, is in an entirely different state and city from Company A, completely.
Do they do the same thing, Samantha? Or are they in the same business?
They are in the same business, yes.
Okay, so they compete, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you say a non-disclosure agreement, in my experience, though, those are odd. I'm wondering if what that isn't really is a confidentiality agreement, which just prohibits him from using any proprietary information that he learned at Company A. He just can't use that at Company B. Is that what it says?
That's what I'm thinking it is, actually.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
about
Yeah. Right. No, and that's very common. And here's the fact of the matter, Samantha, is that's the law anyway. You can't steal trade secrets. So Company B is being overly cautious here. But tell me your question.
My question is, should he, because he's been hanging on here for 3 months, unemployed, waiting for Company B to make him an offer.
Right.
He's been reserved an apartment in the new city and state.
Right.
So anyway, and I think he's going to have to let that go. But should he wait, hold on, get something to do in the interim and wait until November when the NDA expires? Or
well, I mean, he can't make Company B hire him, Samantha. I mean, he can't make them do that. He can't make them do that. So yeah, if it were me, you got to have a job.
Yep.
So he's got to find something to do until November. He can't force them to hire him. They're being overly cautious, frankly, in my view. They're getting bad legal advice based on what I'm understanding is happening. But yeah, that's all he can do. You just go get a job someplace else, and then maybe when November runs around, Company B will hire him.
Hey, appreciate the call, Samantha, and hopefully that helped. We're talking with Jay St. Clair down the line. He's a legal expert offering you free legal advice, 615-737-9986. Any questions you have, you can text him in or you can call in. Joe is on the phone and has a question for Jay. What's up, Joe? How we doing, man?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
Good, good. What's your question?
Man, all right. So I have an acquaintance that recently had a stroke, and this acquaintance is going through a divorce. She's female. The husband failed to render any kind of service. He didn't call paramedics, didn't do anything. He cursed at her and called her names, and even, from what I understand, moved the phone so she couldn't even get to it.
Were they still living together, Joe?
At the time, yes.
Okay.
Yes. She's currently in the hospital now. She suffered a stroke. She's got some issues, but she was able eventually to crawl, make her way to a phone, and was able to call someone, a relative, and the relative showed up, actually entered the home, and called 911 themselves. So we're wanting to know, is there any recourse for this action, for this person doing this? Just going to let somebody die of a stroke?
Yeah. That is a really interesting question, Joe. I've not looked at the law very specifically on this very specific point, but I'm going to give you my best judgment about that. I don't think there is a legal duty for anybody to render aid to anybody else. I don't think there is any legal duty to do that, even your spouse.
Right.
Now that seems harsh, but the husband, the then husband, he did not hurt her, right? It was an act of God.
Right.
It was just a medical emergency.
Nothing physical, but through the divorce, he's been verbally abusing her for months.
Yeah, well, if you could get a doctor to say that might have triggered the stroke, then she might have some claim about that, Joe. But it's my obligation to be as honest with you as I can be. That is really a long shot. It's really a long shot. And then even if there's no evidence that their interactions with each other led to the stroke, I may be wrong, and I'm going to look at this after we're over just to satisfy myself, but I just don't think there's any legal duty really for anybody to render aid to anybody. It'd be like if you were in a grocery store and somebody collapses in the vegetable section. You don't have to help them.
But what about him moving the phone away from her? Isn't there legal issues if you don't allow someone to call 911?
Well, you're right, Chris. I didn't pay attention to that detail. There, he's really kind of interfering with her helping herself. So you're right. I didn't pay close enough attention to that part of it. That's a problem. Now that's a problem. But I'm just being as honest with you as I can be, Joe. It's going to be really hard to get a lawyer to take that case. She could try to get the police involved and say that it was a crime for him to move the phone. But boy, they're just, particularly with there being a divorce going on, I think it's very unlikely they're going to get involved with that. But you're right about that, Chris. But moving the phone away is almost like assaulting her.
But I mean, unless it's on video, you're gonna have a tough time proving that in court, right?
No, it's an awful situation. But I'm just afraid that there's not going to be any kind of legal remedy available to her, Joe.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, she this person took a statement at the hospital for the doctors and what happened and what the process was, and she has a vivid memory of exactly what happened, even though she suffered the stroke.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Joe, and I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. If you got a question for Jay, 615-737-9986. I got a question here on the text line from 1047. He said, I have a legal question. If you had a DUI wreck and an outstanding balance tied to your license because of the wreck, is there a statute of limitations on that, Jay?
Well, I'm not. Read that again, Chris.
If you wrecked in a DUI and there was an outstanding balance tied to your license because of that wreck, is there a statute of limitations?
Yeah, the outstanding balance. I'm guessing he's talking about a fine.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's no statute of limitations for fines.
Yeah, you got to pay that off.
If you owe a fine, you got to pay it. There's no statute of limitations for that.
Hey, simple enough. Randall's on the line. He's got a question for you. What's up, Randall? Real quick, you're on with Jay. What's your question?
Hey, Jay. Hey, man, I was involved in a car accident. Anyway, I did not have insurance on my truck, but the lady came up on my right side, and she hit me when I was about halfway through a turn. And I was wondering, and the insurance company has said that it's my fault. I was not cited or anything like that, and I was wanting to see if I have a case or what I should do.
Her insurance company is refusing to pay you. Right?
They're wanting me to pay for her damage.
Oh, okay. So they're saying it was your fault.
They are.
Well, how much do they want?
We didn't get that far.
Okay.
I just told them that I wasn't going to pay them, and it's more the principle of the matter.
Yeah, I get it. Here's all you can really do is just tell them, no, it wasn't my fault. I'm not paying you. And then you just got to sit back and see if they sue you. I mean, if you wanted to, you could hire a lawyer to sue them. How much damage was done to your vehicle?
Not much. I mean, it put a small dent on my wrecker bed, but I mean, I'm not concerned.
$1,000, $1,000, $2,000. Yeah, that's not worth suing them about it. No, I was just telling them, look, it wasn't my fault, and I'm not paying you.
I like that.
I didn't do anything wrong, and I ain't paying you. Leave me alone.
Appreciate the call, Randall. I got a text. In. How long should I hang on to documents from an estate?
It depends on what documents, Chris. If it's the will, I'd keep the will forever. The legal stuff, I'd keep them at least 10 years. If it went through probate, I think 10 years is fine. And it depends on whether there were squabbles in the family or not. But I'd keep the will forever, and then the other probate documents I'd keep for 10 years.
All right, good advice. Jesse, we got time for one more question. Jesse, what's your question for Jay?
Jay, good to hear you, man. I always enjoy Fridays listening to y'all's conversations.
Thank you,
issue
sir.
I've got, I'm a co-executor of my parents' estate. Mm-hmm. My mother passed a year ago in April, and my father's guns were taken from the estate by my brother, who passed the same month as my mother, and the sister-in-law will not return the guns to the estate.
Who under the will? Was there a will, Jesse? Was there a will?
There was a will. Yes.
And who got the guns under the will?
They weren't in the will. It was supposed to be everything divided up, sold, and the proceeds divided evenly among the three siblings.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole estate then was divided equally. How much are the guns worth, Jesse?
I think they're worth about $5,000.
Did y'all probate it?
It's in probate now.
Well, then you just got to raise that in probate. Do you have a lawyer? Is a lawyer representing the estate?
There is a lawyer representing the estate, and I wouldn't give you 2 cents for him.
Yeah, well, you may have to get your own lawyer to handle that. But she's in effect stolen $5,000 from the estate.
Exactly.
And that's wrong. And you just got to get those facts in front of the probate judge. And then the probate judge will enter an order saying that she's got to give the guns up. If she doesn't, she's going to jail. And if the lawyer that's representing the estate won't do that, Jesse, then you may just have to get a lawyer, or you can go in on your own. Maybe talk to the estate lawyer about that and just see if you can get it, because this issue's not been brought up in probate, right?
No, not by knowledge.
And is the estate still open?
It's still open.
Yep. So what I would do is go to the estate lawyer, tell him what's going on, tell him you want the guns put in the estate, and then if he says he can't do that, well, he'll either say I'll do it, or he's going to say you have to get your own lawyer to do it, because he doesn't technically represent you; he represents the estate. But
Exactly.
really, it's his job to preserve the estate, Jesse.
Exactly.
So I think about this a little bit more. So it's his job to go out and get the estate collected together. So yeah, that's who you need to go to. Is go to that lawyer.
I brought this up to him a year ago, and he's got selective memory.
Well, you just got to pester. Well, that's why people hate lawyers, Jesse.
I understand.
But you just got to keep pestering him, and then tell him if he doesn't bring it up, you're gonna bring it up to the judge yourself.
All right. I think I'm already at that point.
Yep. Now you just got to be a burr under the saddle.
Okay.
Be the burr, Jesse. Be the burr. Appreciate the call. Jay, appreciate your time as well for another edition of FriJay. If people want to keep up with you off the air, how can they find you, Jay? Where do we go?
Yeah, it's the internet, Chris. We don't have any secrets. And it's J. St. Clair, not Saint. I'm more of a sinner than a saint, but it's St. Clair. ST.CLAIR. My firm's Littler Mendelson. And you just find me on the internet.
Hey, Jay, I really appreciate the time today, man. I appreciate all of your expertise.
My pleasure, Chris.
Hey, looking forward to doing it again down the road sometime. 4:56, it's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.